and then I see you here. All right, well, welcome everyone. I think, is anyone new here today to the talk? No? Okay, well, you guys we'll do a, some people showed up who are like on a 5-year plan, so every 5 years, 3 years they come and they get, you know, hopefully they get set straight. And when you get set straight, you will never not. This is the incredible delusion, is when the seeming mistake is corrected, it's like there was never a mistake, yeah? So you see the bogusness of what you were believing to be true when the truth is obvious, yeah? Nothing else does that. There's no solution here in this world that takes its own value out of the equation. So when the solution occurs and you see, you realize it's always been this way, so was there even a problem? See, the problem is all smoke and mirrors. It's all agreement, it's all belief, it's all hearsay, inference, memory, repetition, yeah? So nothing appears here, but it keeps appearing, yeah? And then our reaction from the mental condition is we believe the appearance authorizes the reality, yeah? So I see a thing and I believe there is a thing, yeah? Just like while you dream at night, you see things, yeah? But when you wake up, what are they things? You may have seen a huge thing in the dream that wouldn't have given you any room in the bed, and then you wake up, and that thing wasn't a thing, so it appeared to be when you were in a certain condition. Not it in a certain condition, but you and I were in a certain condition, which we were in a state of dreaming, yeah? So in the state of dreaming, what would happen if you were in a state of dreaming and you never had an example of when it ended, or it wasn't so, or a possibility that there was an awakeness state that wasn't of the dreaming? What would happen if you never woke up in the dream at night? You would doubt the dreaming was real. It's only after the fact we think it's not real by us being in a different condition, which we believe we're awake. We're awake into the real world, and therefore that wasn't real. But while we're in it, it's as real can be. Yes? What happens? Why is there a difference in how you see that to this? Like Ramana Maharshi, a lot of his writings, not his, but people's writings about his teachings, we call it the awakened key. Yeah? So this, yeah, and they'll seemingly fool. One's at night when we awake from that tiger that was scaring the hell out of us in the dreaming, it doesn't when we're awake, yes? In the dream, if you fall asleep again, it would have the same power probably it had before. It would scare the hell out of you. But as soon as you wake up, miraculously, tiger up. So when we're taking something to be real, it appears to be real. It's like when they do that, I don't know if they've changed now, but earlier in physics, they would, some research group would get a grant to look for light as a particle. And then the light would seem to appear to please what was looking for. So now the light appeared as a particle. Then another research grant was given, and we want you to see if it's a wave, then it would appear as a wave. It's almost as if the light dancing to our, yeah. Why would you keep that in a small experiment? And that's what's happening. We're dreaming. Yeah. We are reality, dreaming of things. And by the dreaming of things, as a thing, we give reality to things, yeah? So the reality that we are gets passed through this identification, and then what's appearing to be so is so, yeah? And then you wake up, or people have have this idea of waking up. Well, let's use it almost as if you woke up from a night dream, yeah? You wake up to what? What's going on? Then you realize, Jesus, that thing that before I got sober I thought was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and I've been worshiping it like that for 12 years, the night they stopped. You know, I was on my, driving to my wedding, and I got arrested, and she went with the best man, and my whole life was ruined. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And a lot of people would keep passing it on, there'd be agreement and shit like that, and you'd have a whole identification as the one, and your role in it would have been forgotten. You know, you were totally drunk, fucking swerving, you cut that out. They just pulled me over. I wasn't doing anything, yeah? And so now, yeah, what happens is you get into sobriety, things change, yeah? The dreaming machine, yeah, has some alterations and shit like that. That brought you to recovery. Now, what the hell is it? Was it the worst thing that ever happened to you? And you would think it was, because it's been the worst thing for 12 years. But at any moment, it could be seen completely different, because it doesn't have a reality of its own. It doesn't have a reality of being the worst thing that ever happened. It can't impose that on you. It's how you see it. And if you've seen it for 15 years or 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. It can vanish like that because of its unreality. It isn't like, all right, what's the ratio to waking up from a 15-year dream or a 5-second dream? The same, 0. Yeah? Time has nothing to do with it. There's a great song by the Bauhaus lead singer, Peter Murphy. I just threw that in there. Time had nothing to do with it. Yes, it doesn't. But while we're in the dreaming of time, it has a huge influence. Why? Why, when you wake up from a 300-year dream, it takes us as long to wake up from a 5-second dreaming of you gulping down a Slurpee? Obviously, when the awakening, which is the inherent state, has nothing to do with time. Yeah, you would think 300-year opus of Paul, you know, living 20 different lives, and then the alarm comes at 8:30, I'm up. What? It all got erased. 300 years. And a 5-second Slurpee drink gets erased. I can see that, but the 300 years, you would think it would be a couple of weeks at least, you know. There would be a remnant of it following me. But no, it stops just as the 5-second dream stops, because it's not quantity. Yeah, time is part of the dream. And if we are that which is dreaming, which is inferred by the Course in Miracles, if you haven't heard it, you know, it's available. And so, and I think their take on dreaming is incredible. They call it a dream. I don't like that because it sounds like a thing, you know. And I don't believe there's a thing called dream, a dream, sort of like a car. I don't believe it. Yeah, but I believe dreaming, which is reality taking itself to be something else, and by taking itself to be a dreamt object, it lends reality to all the rest of the dreaming. Yeah, but its role isn't truly diminished because it's all the meaning that everything has is given through us. Nothing has an inherent meaning, like in Buddhism 101, they talk about everything is inherently. If it was something real, it would impose its meaning on us. But basically, we give everything all the meaning it has. What is that but a description of dreaming? So let's get clear that there's an act of dreaming going on, and in that act of dreaming, what's appearing is appearing to be so to us. Yeah? So the oak tree isn't proclaiming every time I walk through the forest, hey, bro, an oak tree. No, the oak tree is just a fucking huge whatever thing, and I'm giving it all the meaning it has. Yeah? And because it's empty, you can get meaning. Because it's not yet habit only. Okay? We're the only one inherently empty situation, we make everything what it is to us. And the important myopic act there is when in self-centeredness, which is a system of contact and reaction based from self, the feeling of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, the doer of a lot of shit it has nothing to do with, the thinker, the feeler, the taster of all these things, it finds itself, holding itself, to be a now. Yeah? So now it, yes? From that self-centered point of view, everything that's seen in this mistaken view is seen as how it pertains to me. So me as a thing, everything pertains to me as a thing. Yes? There's the reality of the dreaming. Now, where's the waking up from it? Yeah. In effect, that's an experience on the dreaming wasn't real, even though you were taking it to be. Yeah? You can't out. Yeah? That doesn't go anywhere. You can lend it through belief and through misunderstanding and through misperception and shit like that. You can give reality to things, yeah, but they don't have any reality, nor do they ever. So an appearance seems to be real to us. Like we have a statement in recovery, a lot of acronyms for words, and fear. Here's one of them. So false evidence appearing real. Okay. But, false evidence appearing real. That sounds pretty right. But what's actually going on? It's false evidence appearing real to what's real. False evidence cannot appeal. It has to appear real to an audience, and the audience is us. So false evidence is being presented in the head, and it's appearing real to us. So we're basing our perceptions, our history, our future on a misperception, misunderstanding. And she progresses, and for some seemingly independent, long-lasting entities, over fucking vary. Yes? And so they try to seek relief from this burden, not knowing what's going on, so they try to escape from Paul, or from the dream, or from their situations, and they use things to do that. And at first, it may work for a period of time, but then the time it works lessens, and the consequences of its working get worse. Yeah? So now you're in an unenviable field, but you may deal with the devil, which is an aspect of you. So basically now, you've given an activity, a mental activity, the power of playing God. Yeah, through you. You're going to make what it wants to seem to be reality. And usually what it does, it makes reality out of what's not happening. So people are crushed by thoughts about next week because they believe they may be okay right now and have some cash right now, but that's overridden with this firm belief they're going to be destitute next week without any evidence. Point, but the book is what? Yeah? Yeah. So basically now the reality in this reality is now mostly rooted in what's not happening. Yeah. So I'll go to a let's say recovery meeting. It's July 18th. Hey, we're gonna just jump in. Yeah, Taj, how are you? Good. Nice to see you. I lit out the square. So yeah. So let's say the meeting is July 28th, and a lady's sitting there, and she's really freaking agitated, really tripping out, yeah, not available to what's happening, and she starts bemoaning the fact of what's going to happen August 15th, but it's July 28th, yeah, but now her trepidation about what she thinks is going to happen is more than apt to override her sense of being here now. Yeah? What is that but slavery? What is that but slavery? Yeah? You're now in a reality that's based in what's not happening already, and now you're in a reality based in what's not happening times 2, because now the basic what's not happening, Paul, do this, now you're in a double bind, because this is assumed to be totally attacked by what's happening yesterday and tomorrow. So the burden just to get out of this is so sufficient that it will occupy maybe for 8 years. The entire condition, yeah, which is the reality that's been given to the things that you wanted to escape from as real, which compounded, yeah, on and on and on. So, what's one to do? Fucking admit you're overmatched, right? I'm outmatched. You can try intellectual, it doesn't work usually, but you will walk on the experiences, you will be on your literal knees and realize that what's happening here is there is a reliance. It's not me in reliance, but there's a reliance on self, this idea of being this long-lasting, independent, separate entity. And that's not true. That's making me prone to the effects of more of what's not happening, a more extreme what's not happening, which is yesterday and tomorrow. Yeah? So we're blind to the present condition, and then there's another condition on that that's basically what we want to get out of, but as this. So now self, this, wants to get out of that self. That self is like the bad self. This self is now adorned to be the policeman that should be watching for that self and beating them into behavior and submission. And suddenly you have another giant mental cloud that grows over you, which is perfection. You should fucking have this down. You know what I mean? You meditate for 20 years. You shouldn't have any unequal stuff. Wow. And you wisdom to this fact. Now that you've seen through one, you're not seeing through the other. You're trying to see through it as that which needs to be seen through. Yes? There's an identification as self that wants to get out of self. That's truly the bondage. So you think it's the second form of bondage, but it's actually the first form of bondage, really. Yeah? So by the time you get to the first form of bondage, this is when it's difficult, because it makes sense if something's bothering me to get out of it, yeah. But you don't see what's at play here. There's an act of being identified as that you want to get out of. So when you try to get out of it, you're getting out of it as it. So wherever you go, it seems to show up, yeah. And you can't figure out, how can I experience the absence of this self as a self? I heard the party was great. Every time I get there, it sucks. I'm going to keep fucking trying to get there faster, because I bet you I can get in and it'll be great. You know, but no, as soon as there's you as the big appearance, things get affected. Don't you see your role in things? It's you. You and I are giving everything all the meaning it has. You and I are the dreamers. Yeah. That's why false evidence needs reality to appear real to. There is no illusion that could fool reality unless reality is entertaining it. Yeah? Which is what's happening here. And some reasons why they put out there is not, it's just the mental fascination with what it's making up. Yeah? So he gets really caught up in the story of Paul at the expense of Paul, really. Yeah. It's like some people in America and other places, they listen to some shit and they basically, their only way to sort of assert any power maybe is voting, and they vote against their own interests quite a lot. It's not a phenomenon, it's a pattern. It's a habit. But to you, I'm going to really fuck myself up. Wow, that doesn't look like a win-win, but it happens a lot. It lots, yes, yes. So this whole message of non-duality is a premise. Later. It's not a that it's a fact to the fact of view. Yeah, I do. I don't care about the false appearance of view, but yeah, what we call in AA the innermost, to some sense, that's not bridled by self-centeredness. There's a lot of what we are leaked all over outside of centeredness. It's just that when we sort of come to the aperture gets shrunk into that. So you see everything from a very myopic. You're seeing is myopic. It doesn't when the seeing is myopic. It's the view it's looking through is myopic. It's like the story of that brownie, the cheap camera. Yeah, I don't know if you used to. You'd buy it's like a little cardboard box with like a plastic beaming lens, and you'd have one roll of film. You'd buy them and then you bring them back, and they developed it, and that was the end of the camera. It didn't have a very long life. And then let's say there's this huge, beautiful camera, super high deep HD and everything like that, and this incredible camera has like a mobile tripod that's trucking around. Sees this little brownie thing. It wasn't a brownie, but this little. It barely can. In the act of looking through it, there's a forget it, seeming. It appears that it's forgotten what it is, which is this big camera. And while it's seeing through the small camera, there's an assumption that it must be the small camera seeing. So when it's seeing through the small camera, the mental state twists that and says, well, it must be the brownie that's seeing. Yeah, this is the fundamental little. So now the HD camera forgets, but it has vague memory. So it's not happy as this little cardboard camera, because remember, NFL Super Bowl, and now it doesn't even see what it's shooting. It's just, I hope it's there. You know what I mean? So, but it can't seem to get out of the situation because it's identified as a camera now, which has severely taken a lot of possibilities away from it. Once it's identified as a camera, the only thing it can do is try to improve the camera, the brownie. So what does it do? It saves up, buys a Nikon lens, and it puts it on the plastic lens, and it's still the same shitty pictures, because it doesn't matter how great that which comes after when it's put in the prior mistake of before. The plastic lens is going to override whatever lens you put on it. Yes? You're going to be seeing through the Nikon lens through the plastic lens. So what's the point? Well, let's say you buy 8 or 9 Nikon things. Hopefully there's a moment where you realize this ain't working. And then hopefully you remember, I heard this message called non-duality at one time, and I think it's explaining exactly the condition I'm in. I seem to be trying to get out of a brownie camera that I may not actually be. And my trying to get out of the brownie camera is reinforcing the assumption that I am the brownie camera. So what the fuck? Yeah? So what happens? It hears the message from someone else, walks by and says, hey, bro, hey, and the message is directed to the big camera, not the brownie camera. The brownie camera will say it heard the message, but the message wasn't to the brownie camera, because that which was giving the message knows that big camera is not the brownie camera. So it goes to the bigger camera, even though the programming will say, oh, the brownie camera got the message. It's not meant for that, right? So, all right, the big camera hears it. You're not this brownie camera. What's the possibility that becomes available? I can be free from this brownie camera. Why not that? Is it going to be painful? Fucking no. You never were that. You're not stitched to it. You just fucking instantaneously, you realize, and when you seem to get free from the brownie camera, it tells you you've never not been this other camera. This is the point. This is important. When it tells you there was no message. Yeah? The only need for the message was the veracity of the believing in the dreaming. Yeah? That's important. So when that problem is seeming a real problem, you need a message, you need a solution. But the solution tells you there was no problem. It tells you, you believing that you were the cardboard. You won't believe. Yeah. about dreaming. So there was a dreaming, so we were taking something to be so that wasn't, as long as these conditions were in place, which was the act of being identified as the small camera. So what's better? Should I go to that small camera and try to convince it it's this great, huge, beautiful camera? That will be more hellish for the small camera, because it'll realize I suck, and I'm going to really have to work hard to try to unstuck, and it's going to be worse. It would be better if it never knew, really. But if the message gets to the right target, which is the bigger camera, it's not like I hate the smaller camera. It's just I'm not that. It's just that simple. But very, 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 very powerful, yeah? And you can be convinced of it. You can be convinced in a second you're not that. And in seeing that, yeah, all the while, with the old habits and all the reinforcements that would keep you engaged as that small camera, they continue, they lose volume and shit, but they continue, but you're not going with it anymore. You're not of it. There's a very clear understanding, I'm not that. I don't give a shit if you have an understanding of how great the camera is. You'll find out one way or the other, but the understanding is I'm not that. I'm not the cardboard camera, yeah? So while, yes, this is seemingly looking at the camera is not what's taking the picture. The picture is taken through by light, yeah? So this, yeah, awareness seems to be coming through this, but the narrative of the head is that I'm as this is aware. That's fundamentally off, yeah? And so when these understandings that which have a huge influence, because they're almost like foundational, if they're off, there's no point of trying to fix like 8 steps later, because it's just going to be reverted back by this, yeah? So why not see this? This is what happened with me, you know? It hit me this point, this idea of Ramana saying the same thing in all the writings that I've ever seen of him, which is this presupposing of this non-existent thing being existent, yeah? And then wanting to get salvation as the seeming existence as the non-existent thing, for the non-existent thing. If that's the case, and I believe it's basically the case for all of us, the spiritual practices themselves are being used to reinforce the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? That's what you sit with and see where there's an assumption that the awareness is an attribute of a thing, yeah? Instead of, see, and like Huang Po, that great Zen master, said, whatever can be perceived cannot be perceived. Very simple. So whatever can be perceived, yeah, you're perceiving it. Yeah, you're seeing this and you call it Paul. I'm perceiving Mike, Nick, yes? So he's basically saying, so you have the evidence right there. Here's the puncher. Whatever can be perceived cannot be perceived. What? Yeah, so basically, I'm experiencing an onness, yeah, that my head attributes to the body, but it's not of the body. It's of awareness, yeah? It's of whatever you want to call it, yeah? Oh, well, that's so what? You know, going to 7-Eleven. This is profoundly, this is like the beginning of where life's happening gets detoured into life's happening to me, yeah? And we don't even know how it would be like to deal with life's happening, because we look at that, yeah? And then resentment and victim, all this shit just keeps growing, and you want to get through all that shit, yeah? Almost as if it's a jungle of its own making, but it's you that's making it. You and I, not as Paul, not as what I am, but through this idea of Paul, through this idea of being the one who does and thinks and feels, I'm making the jungle. So each day I'm walking, that's why you're never going to get through. As you keep going, because it's not coming from us, it's coming from us. If there's any duality is us here. The thing is, there is the moon. Yeah? You can't measure it. Measuring it, it would be active. You can't study it because it's kind of saying it's the one that's studying everything. So you can't get behind it because it keeps claiming to be that which is behind it. You have to see it from what you are and recognize that there will be a claiming of what you see from what you are. Have the warnings, and when you're living life, those warnings will come in handy, and you'll get a structured, almost like a pair of glasses, so you can see the misunderstandings. Instead of trying to rehab them with newer understandings, just see the misunderstandings. They all grow from a basic misunderstanding, which is that which can be perceived as what's perceived, because it's not true, yeah? So the whole narrative in our heads is premised on that, yeah? The whole narrative is if an action is witnessed, someone did it, I did it. If it wasn't someone or I, it was God. There's some force that propels shit. Yeah, let's say, and that force is a noun. So there's not being, there's a being, there's the being. Yeah, there's something. Why is that? Because the mental logic can't see anything without giving it a noun. Yeah, it doesn't. And it's pointless to try to rehab that programming. Just see its failedness. That's its value. Yeah. And then that mind, instead of trying to mine great and clear information from it, you'll mine humor or comedy. There's way more than fucking gems of wisdom. There's a whole lot of fucking comedy in it. And it will keep on giving. I swear to God, you'll never run out of a comedy writer up there. It's just amazing. Because it doesn't matter. Against all evidence, it just keeps plodding with the same view. It does. Self can't get out of self, and you can't tell self that. It just doesn't get it. Change uniform, change, it's just change. But never realizing why not see you're not a changeable thing. You're the unchangeable. There'll be no need to change that which you're not. And yet it'll change. But you'll lose interest in the changing of it. That's the bondage. The bondage is the need to be liberated. You get free from the need to be liberated. Because you're not that. You're not that which has been assuming it's you all this time. You lose interest in it. You keep hearing it, but you're not listening to it. And it's quite different, listening and hearing. Hearing is sort of like my ears are open, I hear sounds, yeah? Listening is there's intent there, there's interest there, which what does that do? It immediately contracts, yeah? So you're hearing tons of things, and then you contract it. What happens? It gets focused, it gets larger, it becomes out of shape or proportion, and there's a forgetting of all the other stuff going on. That's what self-centeredness is. It's like a camera that reverts back to the same aperture that cuts a lot of shit out. Yeah, but in this aperture, whatever you see is reflecting you as the seer. And it's very difficult to think you're the sense when it's a panoramic view. But in a myopic view, how you're seeing everyone is a reflection here. So it's like a loop. It's like you fall in love with this two-way camera because it's always picturing you and everything else. So everything I see, there's only one seer. Everything I've thought, one thinker. Whereas in Buddhism they call it the cherishing of this of self. The mental state is addicted to it. Yeah? To such a point where if you've experienced addiction in this world, I was quite, taken by cocaine, but I never thought I was cocaine, never crossed that line. I'd be up 7 to 10 days shooting coke, but I never thought, I'm cocaine, I'm gonna sleep in this bindle, or shit like that, it was a clear line that never crossed, and I went extreme. I mean, I overdosed on cocaine voluntarily, many, many times. Yeah, I never crossed that. I believe most of us start from that condition when it comes to the mental idea of self. So that not from that, incredible addiction. I mean, I thought I was, and most people in the addictive world would say Paul is definitely a fucking extreme addict for cocaine if they looked at videos, and quantities and shit. Yep. But in this case, we're so past that because we think we are the drug that the head is taking. Yeah. Yeah. We think that it's not gonna fix that one. It ain't. So the only thing I found that worked was the action of the truth. Everything else be easily twisted to reinforce the individual. Like I'm going to become the authentic Paul, or I'm going to merge into the oneness of everything. Yeah, but I was always included as the major player of it. I'm going to be a knower of God, and I'll be a knower of God for a long time, and maybe God will finally appear. But most of the time, will be the knower of God that's picking up the screen. Yes? Yeah. So this thing, but see, the non-duality took that out, rug out from underneath it finally. It was beautiful, and it kept pulling the rug out. Every time the selfie would reestablish, it would pull it out until I realized, you don't need to go through this anymore. Just see. So, I mean, I ran into these statements in these books and talks that I've kept because their meaning is like an avalanche. It has a lot of force when I'm entertaining it, when I'm speaking it. So you cannot use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You cannot use mind, big mind, to seek mind, because that's what we're doing. Taking ourselves to be quote-unquote little mind, we're actually using big mind to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. Why basically is that? Because you're Buddha, you're light in your mind. Yeah, you can't say that about anything else, You can use you to find a pair of pants. You can use you to get a job. Because you're not a job and you're not a pair of pants, but you can't use what you are to find what you are. That would be a way of replacing a surety with an incredible assumption. And this assumption is what this assumption of other assumptions. So you're into groups where everyone will think you're great, but in fact, nothing's really happening because the fundamental basis is not going to all of this effort. Because before you even go on the pillow of the meditation, it says you're the meditator. It's already won. Yeah. In other words, the match has already been thrown before you even throw the first ball. Yeah, just the mental state is so quick, and the only thing that's going to up that is our awareness. Yeah, and the act of being identified has neutered that because we think we're aware. We don't see that what we are. Awareness is way before Paul. When awareness is where Paul is, Paul can be completely fooled because time has gone on, and the mental state has produced a condition and a story before you even come to as the star of the story. How is this going to get out of that? Yes, this is part. Every action it tries to get out of that is part of the movie of being in it. You see it from before. Whereas in whatever you want to talk. There is a large, I would say completely aspect of us that's before thought and that's before perceptual vision. Yeah? Because I can perceive myself, I am that self. No, we're way before that. Yeah? So the only way you're going to beat the guns the self is takes a second and a half. The timelessness, really, to see it from before time, which is our inherent nature, which is awareness, not being but before it gets pushed through, and then see the brownie camera from the big camera. And I believe you're always seeing everything from the big camera. Yeah. Even though you believe you're the brownie, that doesn't make it so. It can make it appear to be so, but it doesn't make it so. That's the beauty of it. So the long drawn out believing that I was Paul when 50 years can be negated in never works, and you're never going to get out of it because you never were. If you were a self once, maybe in duality you could get out of it, but you weren't. That's why it doesn't work. Yeah? Yeah. So, when we say the seeing of what we're not is what we are, the seeing is not vision, it's awareness, let's say. I don't even like words really, but, let's say it's not vision. So you're not seeing what you're not from what you are. There's an awareness of what you're not. Yeah? Instead of what you're not, you become aware of what you're not, trying to become aware of what you are from what you're not. And you see the absurdity of it. And it may have a couple of more return shows, or it may just collapse in, but basically, it's going to slow up, and it's going to come to a stop. It's going to lose momentum sooner or later. Or what really happens before that, you don't even care if it comes to a stop or not. There's just been acceptance of it. It does its thing, and yet it doesn't take the whole little what's happening with presidents, whatever, but it gets filled up. Yeah. And you seem to travel lighter through the squares. And then what more do you really want here? You're not going to get out of you as you. I've tried it with drugs. I don't think spirituality is much different. I thought, seriously, my little fucking manufactured head really wanted to get out of this feeling of what I would call Paul. And it was willing to go to do that. And it had come, but it had come the years of doing shit that, all right, I'm going to do, and I had some people agreeing with me, is, shoot up a big shot of coke, good coke, and then the body will go into a convulsive state. Heart will give out in your brain, and you'll split like a fish almost. And there's got to be a time when the body's shutting down that I'd still be there, and I could finally see life unadorned by self. I was listening. I should have run it by someone. A doctor or something, not my fellow addict. So it became like a religion to me, and like a sacrament. I was attempting to conjure this up because I believe there's gotta be, there is life without fall. Yeah, so let's do it. But the problem is, I would go out. Like ate from it, which was actually the truest knowledge of all. spiritual addiction, I realized it's applicable there. And there was a giving up because I was completely convinced I can't get out of here. Yeah? So the way you get out of here is not trying to get out of here. You get out of here before you're in. Yeah? So now there's an acceptance of this situation that I never had as this situation. Never. Since I've been 6 years old, I was agitated to do something, get somewhere else. Now, there's an acceptance of what's going on because the thing that just created so much stress and conflict has been seen through. Yeah? So the great wisdom of no escape is there's no escape, and there's no one to escape. Yeah? That's the great wisdom. So you finally stop and realize from these you hear it at these meetings that unbeknownst to me, I'm feeding the beast all day. Yeah? Yeah? So obviously, and I realize in my own life that my vested interest in promoting Paul actually usually produced the exact opposite. When I really keen better, I got because it's a very, but I saw it happen in a number of people realize where through doing the message of non-duality, the whole shift is a loss of interest, really. It's not a shift, really. It's like ocean, move low or high tide, but it's the same ocean, But was a loss of interest. So the loss of interest and the need to be liberated is liberation, in my experience. It is. I'm liberated from the yoke of perfection and trying to transcend the spirituality, at least to me, I gave a lot of meaning to spirituality, so the bricks of spirituality are heavier than any other bricks. Yeah. So to be free from that, with like that tree, you recognize the tree by its fruits. I started to see fruits. I had no idea how they were coming about, but I was clear they were fine, and the low interest. See the same thing with that presupposing non-existent thing. Wanting to get away for the out of interest. Out of interest in that drive, yeah? That interest is distorting shit. You don't see things clearly when you're trying to see them. It's panoramic vision that gives you the best sight. When you're trying to look at something, all the while there's a meaning being given to it, unbeknownst to us. Yeah? And then what we thought was going to liberate us saddles us with more fucking shit. So this has been more of a paring down, a loss of interest. And if people would catch me during the day, I'm like completely dumb. Nothing much, no much going on up there. I'm just looking at the grass and shit. You know what I mean? People are getting in touch with me. You should be upset about this. Well, I'm not. I'm not upset about it. I can't seem to, motivate myself to be upset about it. So I'm just, something's directing me. I'm just going to stay with that direction. Yeah. So, yeah. It's been great to have Amelia. She's like my social lubricant. People who I knew, and then they met Amelia through me, they only talk to Amelia. And Amelia gives me the message. Yeah. Seems to work. Yeah. So, but, yeah, I hope, I think we'll stop there for the live. I hope you'll be able to hear it.
Yeah, you've been breaking up quite a bit, Paul. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this has been a lesson in acceptance. You've been breaking up quite a bit, but I think some of the message came through. I didn't know if I should interrupt you or maybe I fucked up, but hey, I think we can hear you
Well,
now.
they heard it. The people live.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
you
know
have
that
to
we have
have
any hands up.
a level of platinum, gold, silver. If you come live, you're going to hear it. So.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe I
loved
should
it.
shut this
It was,
off and just hear you. I'm going to shut this off a second.
okay.
I can hear you. Can you hear it better now?
We can hear you now. The main thing is the Wi-Fi, I think. So I don't know if you want to try to shut the video off and try audio. But
All right. Can you hear me better now?
we can hear you, yeah.
All right, good, because I shut the video off. I wish I could do that here. Let's see. I'll shut the video, I'll think my shutting the video would be this, but I got to get them to go like this. All right. All right, yes. Can you hear me now, though?
We can hear you.
All right, any questions? I'm sorry, because this was a really good talk. It was, I hope you got a little of the feeling through it, yes.
We did, and
They'll come out better probably if we put a video up. I don't know, it won't. Well, whatever. Some of the greatest shit is never noticed. So. Yeah.
ephemeral, yeah. Do we have any questions for Paul? I don't see any hands up as of yet, Paul.
You know, we're going to really work on it this week to have it much better. I'm making a commitment to that at the talk here, yeah.
Cool.
I think it's better when Mike's here, but Mike's away, so we just did the iPad.
Yeah, I think with the microphone and the laptop having double, yeah, that sounded really good the last couple weeks.
All right, so we have to make Mike never go on vacation. Who says there isn't sacrifice in this?
Right.
You know, if you can hear me now, what we were basically speaking of is the primary idea of the dreaming in the act of identification as the dreamt, yes?
Yes.
And then the dreamt persistently goes on as the primary point, befuddled by why shit's not working or all this other stuff, never really recognizing the source of it, and the conclusion I came to, it won't recognize. Self is not going to recognize it can't get out of self. And I'm talking about self getting out of self, but how it's perceived here is Paul getting out of self, Nick getting out of self, Chris getting out of self. And to Chris, Nick, and Paul, it makes maybe complete sense to get out of self, but we're not Chris, Nick, and Paul, yeah? The idea of Chris is AKA self. The idea of Mary is AKA self. It's the same identification. Let's say no thing to thing. I don't want to say it, but just to get a picture. When that fundamentally becomes the basis, it produces a lot of effects here. Yeah? Now, a lot of us don't like the effects. So we try to change a lot of shit, but we don't look at the primary condition. Because while the act of identification as self is interested in, there's no reason not to take it to be you. Just like it goes on a very large rant. Can you still hear me, Jacob?
Yes, we can.
Rant in the Course in Miracles, where it says, it goes on with this idea, firm in faith in this something else that we've made to be ourselves. It's exactly the same as self can't get out of self, yes? So, firm in faith, how do we see the firm in faithness? The believing of the thoughts going on, yeah? Because the thought system is the incessant engagement with this idea. The thought system takes us to be a doer, a thinker, a feeler, a taster, a smeller, and pictures all of that as a body. Yes? So when you're listening to the narrative, it's completely based on that which can be perceived is what's perceived. It's completely diametrically different than the statement of Huang Po. Yeah? So this firm in faith in this something else is an activity, because there's no something else to be firm in faith in. The something else is a made-up narrative. So it's a lot of mental movement implying there's a solid, separate, independent noun. But there is none. So it's firm in faith. You're not firm in faith in a thing. You're firm in faith in all these activities that imply you're a thing. Yeah? So there's firm in faith in this something else that we've made, that we are making right now to be ourselves. I would never say it gets to a point of being made, but we are in the making of this to be ourselves. In other words, we're taking it to be us. That's fundamental, isn't it? I mean, you can have tons of talks about tons of other things, but fundamentally, yes, the essence of non-duality is negating that. The essence of non-duality is based on being ourselves reality. Being ourselves reality. It's not saying being reality, being ourselves reality, yeah? Being reality, that moment, yeah? Is why you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha, because we are the Buddha, yeah? That's it. That's the message. It's the seeker is the sought. It's not the seeker and the sought. It says the seeker is the sought. So there's the two, seeker, sought. And he's negating that. The seeker is the sought. There's no seeker. Yes? So now there's only one. It's really nothing, really. Yeah? So seeker, the seeker is the sought. It's not seeker and sought. It's the seeker is the sought. Yeah? So what does that imply? You can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You can't use mind to seek mind. So the seeker, as mind, can't be used to search for or to have the sought mind, because you're using what you're looking for to look for it. Yeah, fundamental. You're off the game board. It doesn't matter if it's different rules on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You're disqualified. Now, at that point, it seems like a problem. So you seek for a solution. A lot of solutions, they're introduced as something fittable or malleable to the framing already. So you're going to get better. There's an authentic self in you. You're just a particle of the absolute allness. You're going to merge back in as if you could have ever left, and you're going to merge back in. Non-duality doesn't play that game. It just basically negates all that and says being ourselves reality. That's why the seeker is the sought. That's why you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha, because we're reality. And in this little activity of dreaming, reality is being used to look for itself. By an aspect of reality that's misunderstanding something. So this act of being identified as a thing has caused the large camera to seemingly forget itself by remembering itself as the brownie. Yeah. So let's just see how that happens, and then you'll see that it never happened. It only appears to be happening when certain conditions are in place. When those conditions clear up, it keeps appearing to happen, but now it's just an empty glove. The hand is in there, but it doesn't lose its nature of hand by the movement of the glove. It realizes, yeah, there's a movement called glove, but there's a hand. Yeah. It's not, I'm the glove moving. No, Yeah, yeah. Things have become clear. All right, everything keeps on keeping on, but now the effects of how you dance with everything are dramatically different. You're gonna have to dance with shit, yeah, but you'll travel lighter through stuff. And then you realize, and the beauty of the solution is when it dawns on you, there was no need for it because nothing ever really happened, really. I never crossed the line and disqualify myself. It's like, can you hear me there? Can you hear me there? Oh,
Yes,
good.
we can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Doing two different talks, one for you and this. So look at the story in the Bible, the prodigal son, yeah, where a guy comes from a nice family, good situation, and then he acts out. Yeah, obviously believing he's the doer and shit. He starts partying, fucking up, and he starts having a lot of guilt, and he's afraid to go back to see his family and his father because he feels like they hate him or he's really disappointed them. He has no idea, but he has a lot of ideas of how they're thinking. So now he's living on a bottom, and he wakes up in a sty, a pigsty, and he's fighting with the pigs to get the corn on the cob, and then he realizes something, and he's had enough. Yes, he finally he surrenders, or something under the he surrenders, and then immediately there's no bridge to the next part of the story. It's like he's on the road. He meets his father. His father puts a beautiful ring on him, gives him some new clothes, says, "Hey, we're having a big fucking feast at the house." What? It isn't like, I worked into my father's good graces and I got better. No, it was like, I've fucking had enough. I swear to God, when I've read it, there was no bridge of him having to purify himself or shit like that. It's just got something, there it was, his father was there, back to the feast, that's the end of the story. Yeah. What prolonged it wasn't the father or the feast date or anything, it was him, his head. He was believing, he was firm in faith, and that's something else that he had made to be himself. Yeah. When he lost that faith, it collapsed. The solution was right there, as it always has been, as it always will be. Yeah, bam. Yeah. Doesn't take any time. We're the one who's holding things up with time. We are. Yeah. It's sort of like you and I, we wake up from the dream, but we like the dream. So we want to go to sleep. Yeah. Now, we can't just fucking be accountable for that, so we have to act like, I really want to wake up, but basically all our wanting to wake up is reinforcing being asleep, basically, so you're, fucking great. I can look for God, I know I'm never going to find him, so let's go, spend 50 years looking for him, with a complete guarantee I'm never going to find him. Because the head is totally cool with becoming something, but it doesn't want to be something. Because it believes it's being something right now. So it says, sign me up. I want to become more clearer. Yeah. But if you give a message, you are that, has very little interest in that. Tell me what I need to do. Nothing. What? Oh, fuck this. Let's go. I'm joining a 3-week retreat. All right. Yeah. The head just cannot accept. Yeah. Because of the faith in the whole catacomb of the system. It says firm in faith in this something else. The firm in faith isn't in this one something else. It's in all the shit that reinforces the something else. That's what's holding up this house of cards. Yeah? And it's fine. Let's admit it. Admit that I don't really want it. Yeah? I'd like to be, if freedom had me involved in it, I'll go for it, Or I want to have the experience of my own absence, but I want to be there to get it. I want myself, can I sign, I am never exempted from the contract. You know what I mean? That's the deal. The party is great, but when you get there, it sucks. Yeah. So, yeah. You heard that? Yeah, that was talk 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
let those with ears hear.
Hey?
Let those with ears hear. Hey, we have a question from Satish.
Satish. I hope you guys, I'll try to say what he asks. All right, Satish.
Hi, Paul. I think if you turn your video on, you'll be okay. Let's check your voice. I mean, sound.
All right.
I think whatever you turned off improved the sound. It was not the video, I think. So you're coming through okay. Question I have is, how do I know whether I'm talking from or listening from the action figure or who I am? Is there a way to do?
I can't hear anything. All right, so how do I know if I'm listening or talking? Don't worry about that. Just ask, who is it that wants to know? How does it know? Yeah? So don't go down the road of the question. Let's look at where it's starting from, which is Satish. Why not ask, yeah. How do you know that you're the one that needs to know through the talking? Yes? Something like that. I would go that way, Satish.
Okay.
In my own experience with it, there's just been a big loss of interest. As if one way is completely superior to another way. You lose a lot of the interest in getting to the decimals of situations. Yeah, just mostly all day I forget the 20 minutes before, so I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a good indication that I've lost interest in what it means, when I'm speaking or whatever. Yeah. So
is it going to happen by itself or?
Well, of course it is. It's definitely not going to happen through you, Satish.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
In this situation, Satish is the rock. We're trying to get around. We could throw Satish overboard and the journey would go on much nicer, probably. Yeah.
All right,
No, it's true, really. Because that firm in faith in this something else. Let's say firm in faith in what you are would give you the eyes to see what the head is making up to be yourself. Yeah? So firm in faith in the message of non-duality, the words and the ideas and the concepts of that drop, and then the nugget of the idea of non-duality is seeing, awareness, and from there there'll be firm in faith in the awareness, and you will see the making of what you're not. Yes? Yeah.
So is it true like what I am not should have firm in faith in what I am?
I believe yes, because if you entertain non-duality, you're going to lose interest in Satish. Yeah?
Uh-huh.
That faith in Satish is going to go somewhere. And I would say it goes everywhere, which is what we are. Yeah? And so now, see, the firm in faith is what makes that something else appear to be ourselves. The same faith will let it be seen as what you're not. Yeah? It's faith. Faith is the force of it all. Yeah?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So see what happens if you hear that what you are is really manufactured, hopefully there's a loss of interest in it, because that interest could be spent in much wiser ways. Yeah, it's sort of like, and you've realized the amount of interest put into what I'm not is actually making it more mutated than ever. So I have to watch out. It's like when I was a kid and I wanted to see a bug, and I'd go get the magnifying glass from my mother's in the kitchen drawer, and I'd look at the bug, I could see all its colors, but I didn't know the sun was right over my shoulder. While I was looking at the bug, I was burning it to death. I was cooking it. Yeah? That's the power of our minds. You've got to be careful. Yeah? If it's being brought into focus through self-centeredness, it can make mountains out of molehills. It can make shit out of nothing, really. It can make huge impediments in a flash of the eye. Yeah, all manufactured by this faith in this something else that we've made to be ourselves, or we are taking to be ourselves. The whole thing starts with the firm in faith. Yeah. Now, what happens if you listen to non-duality? It's going to shake the faith in that, because you believed a lot of stuff that isn't true. And you have days of reckoning through satsangs, or reading a book, or watching a video, or just sitting in your yard. There's a lot of reckonings where you realize the failure of a system that you actually thought was the mechanics of being Paul. You really recognize it, and you know what happens then. The interest and attention gets withdrawn. Yeah, it has enough already to make it through a day. It will never have enough to live 90 days in one day. Yeah? Yeah? It has enough to now, go here, go coffee, go home, put the car in fucking first, shit like that. But to be the center of the universe and see everything revolving around me, that's way too much for the mechanics of this self-centeredness. It is. It gets too fucking mutated, weird. Yeah? So there's a withdrawing of that faith, let's call it interest and attention, and then that same faith that was going into manufacturing and supporting this something else is now enriching your day. Yeah? You're here completely now. Not through any, heroic effort, just by the fact that this is all there is. It's so obvious, yeah? The here and now, nothing breaches the definition of here and now. All the mountains that were made out of molehills could only be constructed here and now. All the mental suffering manufactured out of faith in what's not happening could only happen in what's happening here and now. We are that, yeah? So, I'm not firm in faith in Paul anymore. That faith has been removed, and I can tell the removal by the fruit that because the tree I used to live under wasn't bearing much fruit. Yeah. Yeah. I was searching to be okay when inherently I am okay. Yeah. I was searching to be good when who said I wasn't good? I would leave relationships. It was funny. And yet, when the woman who I'd been with showed me all these pictures of the 2 years we were with, I was smiling all the fucking time. She was totally surprised. I wasn't happy. It looked like I was happy. I probably fucking was. Well, my mental story was I wasn't happy. And it was overriding what actually was happening. And she was totally befuddled because you're always smiling, you always look happy. No, yes, this is living in what's not happening. Yeah, shit. And how could what's not happening override this that's happening? Only through faith in what's not happening. Yeah, that's the only way. How could next Tuesday affect you today unless you had faith in next Tuesday as being a real event? Yeah, because it's not demonstrating a reality on Saturday, is it? Tuesday, I'm not, we're in this room and then, Tuesday, come on out. Hey, it's Saturday, I know, but this is Tuesday. No, Tuesday isn't rushing in and fucking up Saturday. It's entertained, yeah? So there's faith in time, there's faith in this and faith in that. We're not talking about changing the faith, we're talking about telling the truth of where it's being put, yeah? And maybe it can be put somewhere else and produce different results. It's the same energy. Yeah, that's what I found. Like in AA, it was obvious to me that firm in faith in the thought system produces tons of anxiety. And most of that anxiety is based on what's not happening. And most of that anxiety by the person who's being suffering it is called fear, which it isn't. It's mental anxiety. It mimics fear, but it's not fear. Fear is an emotion that arises when there's a real threat or there's a threat. Mental anxiety doesn't need a threat. It makes up shit. Yeah? And it mimics a feeling of fear, and instead of having that adrenaline rush out like 10 times in your life with fucking all the times, seeing a shark or something, it's like giving us a mini electrocution all day. It's just like a sadist with a button. Yes? That's based on faith. What else is it based on? How could false evidence act as if it was true evidence, other than through faith from reality, which is us? That's why Jesus went on all the time. You ever read him? Supposedly, I don't know what happened then, but he was always, great things would happen. Hey, it was done according to your faith, done according to your faith. As you believe, so it is. He was just describing the facts of the mental activity. Yeah? So, let's tell the truth, where the faith is. Firm in faith in this something else we've made to be ourselves. We are in the active denial of what we are. Not one person would I meet today if I asked them, do you realize you're in the active denial of what you are right now? They no. I thought I was on a counter getting a coffee. But in fact, firm in faith in this something else we made to be ourselves, in this dualistic coin, is, on the other side, the active denial of what you are. Yeah, there you go. Is there anything to do? No, let it land. Yeah? See, if any movement is going to make it worse, then the best move is no movement, obviously. You let the message land and see how the chips fall. Yeah, for me, it was a complete, the one card was, the whole house of cards didn't have to come down. The one card that was holding it did. And when that was pulled, yeah, and then the house of cards went down, and then it appeared to be up again. But I wasn't living in the house of cards. There was a narrative about living in the house of cards, but I wasn't there. I was available for here and now. Yes? And the faith grew. Because this delivers the goods. You can enjoy peace of mind. Not by spending $4,000 and have someone control every condition so it's just perfect for you. No. While the day's happening the way it happens, you can be enjoying peace of mind. You can travel lighter. Yeah? Yeah. You can't make a mistake. Like the Course says, there's no sins. There's just mistakes, and they can all be corrected. Yeah? The beautiful thing about this mistake doesn't even need to be corrected because it never happened. You have not inherently changed. You didn't morph into a thing and now you have to become an unthing. No, it's all based on appearances. Yeah? It's appearing to us that this is so. Yeah? The same thing that appears to be so, if it didn't appear to us that way, we would see it differently. We're it. We are the dreaming. Yeah? Not as Paul, but as, yeah. So, yeah. Anyone else there?
Thanks, Paul. We hear you loud and clear right now.
I got to do another talk, so these people are going to hear 3 talks now. They're all waiting to go to coffee. They're like, come on, I want that gluten-free. All right, anyone else?
We have Tanya's hand up.
Yeah?
Tanya has her hand up.
All right,
Hi.
that's the last one, all right?
Hi,
Yep.
this will be quick. I wanted to tell you that as I lose like the interest in myself more and more as I keep coming to these talks, I notice I'm tired a lot. I mean, it could be that I started a new job, but I'm tired all the time. And the other day, my son told me, Mom, I don't know what it is, but you're different. And I said, what? And he said, since for about like, I guess I've been coming for a year now. I didn't realize that. But he said, Mom, and I told him, well, is it good or bad? And he goes, I don't know yet. But he said that I'm different. And I don't know, but it's hard because like I'm going through the day and I notice things are different because all of a sudden I'll have this thought and it'll come in. And then I realize that I'm noticing it because I haven't had it. Or maybe I'm just so busy, I haven't had it. And then I just see how I don't even have control of that, how I have no control of what's coming in and out. And I'm not any of it. It's just like something's happening and I don't really have interest in it when it's happening, but I realize like I can just see it. I can just see it that I'm not even in control of when there's the focus goes in and when the focus goes out. It's like I'm not even in control of that.
Yes, well, that which you are is never different, so obviously the reaction to that may be different. But I wouldn't, don't buy a flag or a pole and then put it down, because you'll be moved more and more. Yes? In AA, we say trust the process. This isn't a process, but let's use the word trust, yeah, instead of the head. So yeah, you're going to be different. Yeah. Isn't that what you wanted anyway?
Yeah, I'm not in worry like I used to be. I'm like,
So yeah, there you go. But now the head wants to worry about if you're different. Yeah, it's tricky, honey. Yeah. It may, the level of anxiety may change, but it will try to equip the next floor with a more subtle anxiety. Yeah. Yeah. Realize you're in good hands. And if you don't think so, realize you're not that thinks that. Yeah.
yeah,
So like with life, all right, I trusted people and sometimes I got hurt. Should I not trust people at all? No, I'd rather trust people and get ripped off a few times. Tell you the truth, yeah. I think the feeling of trusting is more valuable than, securing possessions and shit like that. Yeah, so, yeah. Same thing. I've never had this problem with it. I just felt like I was in good hands. When this struck me, it was like an unspoken yes, and it just kept echoing, and I was lucky maybe. I never really had any concerns how it was looking based on where I sensed it from, Yes. So
I'm not concerned how it looks at all. It's just when my son told me I know it's for the better because I feel better.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
I think you've come a long way. Yes.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So just yeah. A lot of people go through similar things. So you see, a part of being Paul is the interest in things that Paul is into. And when there's a loss of interest in those things, then there's a feeling that you're losing Paul, which is very good. But Paul doesn't think so. So the alarm goes off in Paul. It's like the skin in the snake. The skin doesn't really isn't really concerned about the snake's well-being. It's wanting to extend its relevance. So yeah. So yeah, yeah. A lot of people lose interest in stuff, and it scares the head because the head finds its identity in a lot of those things. And hey, great that that tree gets shook. You might as well have it now than at the moment of death. Might as well start seeing it now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why I have social directors and stuff. Yeah. I have people who man the phones when you want to talk to Paul. They get sent to somebody else. All right, I'm talking for Paul. Yeah. All this stuff is, you won't believe how easy it is to adapt to peace. Yeah. It's not difficult. You just get the flavor of it. Yeah. And again, coming to believe or being convinced, I don't like to use the word in good hands, but that's the feeling as an action figure. Yeah, I have faith that I'm okay with the changes or whatnot. Yeah, I've gotten less and less change lately. I'm becoming, completely uninteresting. Yeah. Just wandering around. Amelia comes out in the yard and I'm hiding usually. Paul! And then I'll be hiding near a tree or something, just sitting there. Someone wants to see you. Tell them to listen to the videos. It's the best of Paul. No. So, hey, all right, Tanya, I think you're fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya.
Anyone else?
No, that's it, Paul.
Oh, good. Let's get to the goodbyes. I'm really feeling bad for you guys missing out this great talk. So, no, it's okay. Hey, Gary C., nice to see you. Yes, and Stefan on having never left. Thank you. Hey, thank you for coming all the time. This is a we event, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of power in us. So.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Steph. It's echoing. All right, is it good? All right. No, it's echoing again. It sounds cool though. All right. Walter, nice to see you, Walter. Yes. We got Connor from Dublin. Nice to see you, Connor. Satish, I don't know where you're from, but I always like seeing you. We got Judith and an anonymous person I can't see. All I see is a silhouette. Judith, and oh, there it is. Oh, it faded out.
Paul,
Yes.
I need a t-shirt I want a picture of Jesus on a t-shirt and then the saying, I never said that.
Oh yeah, I have that one.
I need that one for my friend in Minneapolis.
I have one for you. When I come to Hawaii, I'll bring it. I do. I have one of those shirts.
My friend in Minneapolis really wants one bad.
Let's not get carried away. I got one. I don't know.
No, I'll give it to him. I'm going to give it to him.
All right, good. Yeah, I do have one. Let me know. I got to look, though. I'll see. All right, we got Johan. Hey, Judith, nice to see you, honey. See you soon, I hope. And Johan from Germany, always a pleasure. We got Tariq from Dover, New Jersey. Nice to see you, Tariq. We got Chris G. Always a pleasure, Chris. Thank you. We got Gio from Brazil. Nice to see you. Let's see. We got Jacob, Seattle. Sonia from Sonia. I think she's in Portugal. I think she's there. Suzanne M. Always a pleasure. Threw a little Course of Miracles in there. Yeah. We got Carl.
Thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
I have questions, but I'll save them.
Eh?
I have questions, but I'll save them.
Okay, yeah, thank you. These people, yeah, the live group they're starting to look at their nails and, yeah. They're getting ready. Should I get a pedicure or something like that? So, all right. We got Geraldine. Nice to see you, Gerald. Have you been here before, Geraldine?
I
Since you-
fell asleep. Yeah, I have been here before, quite a few times.
Oh, great, Geraldine. Go back to sleep, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. This all happens through osmosis anyway. Yeah. Deborah, nice to see you, Deborah. We got David. Oh, David G. He's in Spain, I think. He set up the whole recovery Zooms. So he's still trying to get a free shirt, but I refuse to give it to him. Yeah. We got Sue Kimpton. Good to see you, Sue. I don't see you, but nice to see you. Elaine, Rich A from UK, PK from Long Island. Yes, yes. From Long Island City, which is a whole different ballgame. All right, I think that's about it. Let's see. No, we
You
got
missed some towards the beginning.
Kenneth from Vancouver, Alex from the Hudson Valley, Sylvester, the man before the blinds. Yes. We got Roman. We got Anu. Thank you, Anu, for your donations. Glenda O'Driscoll. She's moved from her usual perch and she's on the couch. Tommy from Ireland. I got Kenneth. All right. Thank you, everyone. I had a very, fantastic to see everyone. Yeah. I'll see you guys Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's no Tuesday 4:30 Pacific time for the next two Tuesdays. Then we're going to start up again. So try to figure that out. All right, thanks. See you. Oh, bye. Let's pass the basket here, bro, too. I always let everyone out.